By August 2025, 10 everyday grocery items could vanish from shelves completely. Extreme weather, global conflicts, and crumbling supply chains are wreaking havoc, and prices are already skyrocketing. But don't panic, get prepared. In this video, I'll reveal the 10 items disappearing, why it's happening, and smart alternatives to stay ahead. Trust me, the last one will shock you. It's probably in your pantry right now. Don't miss out, hit subscribe, and let's dive in. Number 1, coffee, your morning ritual at risk. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching for your favorite coffee, and finding an empty shelf instead. By August 2025, this could be a reality. Coffee, the lifeline for millions, is under siege, and the reasons are piling up faster than your morning brew. Let's start with Brazil, the world's largest coffee producer. Their coffee belt, responsible for a significant chunk of global supply, is facing relentless challenges. Droughts, heat waves, and erratic rainfall have devastated crops, with some regions reporting a staggering 40% drop in production compared to just a few years ago. And it's not just Brazil. Vietnam, the top producer of Robusta beans, the kind used in coffee, is grappling with extreme temperatures and dwindling water reserves. These aren't isolated issues, they're global. Add to this the rising costs of fertilizers, labor shortages, and political instability in other coffee-growing nations like Colombia and Ethiopia, and you've got a perfect storm. The result? A coffee supply chain stretched to its breaking point. But here's the kicker, demand for coffee isn't slowing down. In fact, it's growing. With more people working from home, the daily coffee ritual has become even more ingrained. When supply drops and demand rises, prices inevitably skyrocket. Analysts predict a 30% price hike by summer, and in some cities, premium beans have already doubled in cost. Shipping disruptions are another nail in the coffee coffin. Port delays, fuel price hikes, and container shortages mean fewer beans are making it to your local store. Even if your favorite roast isn't out of stock, it might be stuck in transit for weeks, driving up costs even further. So, what can you do? Start by stocking up now. Freeze-dried coffee and vacuum-sealed beans can last for months, even years, if stored properly. Explore local roasters or regional brands that might have more reliable supply chains, and consider cutting back on your daily intake to stretch your current stock. Coffee is something we often take for granted, but the signs are clear, it's time to prepare. Don't wait until you're staring at an empty shelf or a $20 price tag. Act now, and your mornings will thank you later. Number 2, olive oil, the liquid gold crisis. Olive oil, a staple in kitchens worldwide, is on the brink of becoming a luxury item. By August 2025, this everyday essential could be out of reach for many, and the reasons are as clear as a bottle of extra virgin. The Mediterranean, particularly Spain and Italy, is the heart of global olive oil production. Spain alone accounts for nearly half of the world's olive oil exports, but over the past year, these regions have faced some of the worst drought conditions in recorded history. The soil is parched, olive trees are stressed, and harvests are shrinking. In 2024, Spain's olive oil production dropped by over 50%, and early projections for 2025 show no signs of improvement. This isn't just a local issue, it's a global ripple effect. Wholesalers are scrambling to secure even minimal quantities, often at premium prices. Supermarkets are slashing orders, and major brands are reformulating blends with lower-grade oils or cutting production altogether. The result? Prices for extra virgin olive oil have doubled in some regions, and the trend shows no signs of slowing. For consumers, this means higher prices and limited availability. If olive oil is a regular part of your cooking routine, now is the time to act. Stock up on high-quality bottles, preferably in dark glass or metal containers, which protect the oil from light and extend its shelf life. Properly stored olive oil can last up to 2 years without losing quality. If olive oil becomes too expensive or hard to find, there are alternatives. Avocado oil is a fantastic substitute for cooking and frying, offering a neutral taste and high heat stability. Coconut oil is another option, especially for baking, while sunflower oil remains a budget-friendly choice for now. The olive oil crisis is a stark reminder of how interconnected our food systems are. As droughts persist and supplies dwindle, panic buying could lead to empty shelves and even higher prices. I don't wait for the limit one per customer signs to appear. Prepare now, and you'll be ahead of the curve. Number 3, rice, the global staple in peril. Rice, the humble grain that feeds half the world's population, is facing a crisis of epic proportions. By August 2025, this everyday staple could become a luxury, and the warning signs are impossible to ignore. Asia, the world's rice bowl, is in trouble. Thailand, India, and Vietnam, countries that supply over 60% of the world's rice, are grappling with catastrophic harvest failures. In Thailand, extreme flooding has destroyed nearly 30% of rice fields, leaving entire provinces underwater for weeks. Generations of family farms have been wiped out, and the images are heartbreaking. India, another major player, has extended its rice export ban for another year, keeping what little they have for domestic consumption. This move has effectively removed 40 million tons of rice from the global market overnight. Vietnam, meanwhile, is battling saltwater intrusion in its Mekong Delta, a phenomenon that kills rice crops instantly. Fields that have produced rice for centuries are now barren. The situation is further exacerbated by soaring global demand. With wheat prices climbing, millions are turning to rice as their primary grain. Food banks in the U.S. report an 85% increase in rice requests compared to last year. China, not taking any chances, has placed its largest ever rice import order, buying up to 5 million tons from global supplies. Even American rice production isn't immune. Droughts in California have slashed yields, while farmers in Louisiana and Texas are switching to more profitable crops like soybeans. The economics simply don't add up for many rice growers anymore. So what can you do? Start by exploring alternative grains like quinoa, barley, and farro. These options are not only nutritious, but also more likely to remain affordable as rice prices climb. Bulgur wheat is another excellent substitute, offering a nutty flavor that works well in most dishes. If you're set on rice, invest in proper storage. Sealed containers and dry storage bags can keep rice fresh for up to 3 years. Glass containers with oxygen absorbers are a simple yet effective solution. The time to act is now. Don't wait until prices double or shelves go empty. Prepare today, and you'll weather this storm with ease. Number 4, fish species, a vanishing staple. Seafood lovers, brace yourselves. The fish you've come to rely on for your favorite dishes, wild salmon, tuna, and cod, are slipping away faster than anyone anticipated. This isn't just a minor dip in supply, it's a full-blown crisis. Let's break it down. Wild salmon, a staple in many households, is becoming increasingly scarce. Alaskan fisheries, once the backbone of North America's salmon supply, are reporting their worst season in 3 decades. The numbers are staggering. Catches have plummeted by 35% since January alone. Why? Rising ocean temperatures are wreaking havoc on salmon migration patterns. Cave fishing grounds have warmed by 2-3 degrees, forcing these fish into unfamiliar waters where survival is far from guaranteed. Generational fishermen who've spent their lives on these waters are now selling their boats, unable to make ends meet. But salmon isn't the only casualty. Tuna populations in the Pacific are collapsing at an alarming rate. Yellowfin tuna stocks, for instance, have dropped by nearly 60% compared to last year. Commercial fishing fleets are returning with half-empty nets, and some of the largest seafood companies in Japan have declared force majeure, essentially admitting they can't fulfill their contracts. This is a global issue, and it's hitting closer to home than you might think. Even farmed fish, often seen as a fallback, isn't immune. These operations rely heavily on wild-caught fish for feed, creating a vicious cycle that's impossible to escape. And cod, major retailers are already limiting purchases to 2 packages per customer in some regions. Grocery store managers are reporting shipments at less than a third of their usual volume. One manager with over 20 years in the business said he's never seen anything like this. The root causes are clear: overfishing and climate change. Breeding grounds are shrinking, food sources are disappearing. We're still dragging massive nets through what's left. To make matters worse, microplastics have been found in 94% of commercial fish samples, adding yet another stressor to already struggling populations. So what can you do? Start stocking up now. Canned tuna, frozen salmon, and cod products will be the hardest to find by May. Prices are already climbing, with salmon fillets expected to soar past $30 per pound. Consider sustainable alternatives like lionfish or Asian carp. These invasive species are not only abundant but also surprisingly tasty when prepared right. The ocean needs years to recover, so don't wait until it's too late. Number 5, avocados, the green gold crisis. Avocado toast lovers, this one's going to hurt. Avocados, once a trendy brunch staple, are now on the brink of becoming a luxury item. The reasons are as complex as they are alarming. California, the heart of U.S. avocado production, is facing unprecedented challenges. Drought conditions have slashed water allocations, forcing farmers to make tough decisions. Some have even pulled entire groves out of production to save on costs. As of early 2025, California's avocado yield is down 30% compared to last year. This isn't just a bad season, it's a structural problem that's been building for years. And don't think we can simply rely on imports from Mexico. Avocados crossing the U.S. Mexico border are facing significant delays due to tighter inspections and escalating safe concerns in major growing regions. Cartel-related disruptions and labor shortages are creating bottlenecks just as U.S. supply is collapsing. The result? A perfect storm of scarcity. Prices are already climbing, and analysts predict a 40% to 60% surge by mid-year. For families trying to eat healthy or stick to plant-based diets, this is more than just an inconvenience, it's a real nutritional gap. Avocados are a key source of healthy fats, and losing access to them will hit hard. So what can you do? Act now. Buy avocados while they're still affordable. Ripe avocados can be diced, vacuum sealed, and frozen for later use. They hold up surprisingly well for smoothies, guacamole, and spreads. This simple step can save you from sticker shock or worse, empty shelves come summer. The bottom line, don't wait. Avocados are more than just a trendy food, they're a nutritional powerhouse. Plan ahead, because by August they might be out of reach for most of us. Number 6, spices, the silent shortage. Spices might not be the first thing you think of when it comes to prepping, but they're one of the most vulnerable categories in your pantry. The global spice trade is under immense pressure, and the reasons are piling up. Over 70% of the world's spices come from just a handful of countries: India, Vietnam, Indonesia, and China. When these regions face challenges, be it droughts, floods, or political instability, the ripple effects are immediate. India, for example, saw a 35% drop in turmeric production last season due to unseasonal rains and poor soil recovery. Meanwhile, shipping delays in Vietnam have slowed pepper exports to a crawl, but it's not just about farming. Spices are considered low-priority freight. When global shipping is backed up, essentials like grains and dairy take precedence, leaving spice containers delayed or even canceled. Add in inflation, trade tariffs, and rising energy costs, and you've got a recipe for empty spice racks. Even common spices like cumin, coriander, and cinnamon are becoming harder to source. And when they do make it to store shelves, the prices are eye-watering. So what's the solution? Start with the essentials. Stock up on black pepper, turmeric, cumin, cinnamon, and cloves. These spices are not only disappearing faster, but are also crucial for flavoring shelf-stable meals like beans and rice. Plus, some spices like turmeric and cloves have anti-inflammatory and medicinal properties, making them valuable for long-term wellness. Spices might not keep you alive, but they'll keep you sane. A well-seasoned meal can make all the difference in tough times. If you've got the shelf space, now's the time to act. Don't wait until you're staring at an empty spice rack wishing you'd stocked up. Number 7. Cocoa and chocolate, a bitter reality. Chocolate lovers, this one's going to sting. Cocoa and chocolate products are on the verge of becoming a luxury item, and the reasons behind this crisis are as complex as they are heartbreaking. Did you know that 70% of the world's cocoa comes from just 4 countries in West Africa? Right now, these regions are facing a perfect storm of challenges that could change the way we think about chocolate forever. Ghana and Ivory Coast, the 2 largest cocoa producers, are experiencing their worst drought in 30 years. Cocoa trees, which are notoriously sensitive to environmental changes, are dying by the thousands. Farmers in these regions are reporting crop losses of up to 40%, and the situation is only getting worse. Without adequate rainfall, the trees can't produce the pods that contain cocoa beans, and the ones that do survive are yielding smaller, lower quality harvests. But drought isn't the only issue. Labor shortages are hitting critical levels as younger generations abandon farming for city jobs. It's hard to blame them. Cocoa farming pays less than $1 a day in many areas, making it nearly impossible to sustain a livelihood. This exodus is leaving farms understaffed and unable to keep up with demand. Here's the kicker: chocolate companies have known about these issues for years, but have done little to address them. The result: a supply chain on the brink of collapse. By May 2025, chocolate prices are expected to skyrocket by at least 60%. Premium chocolate bars that cost $3 today could easily hit $5 or more. Dark chocolate, cocoa powder, and baking chocolate chips will be the first to disappear from shelves, leaving holiday bakers and chocolate enthusiasts scrambling. If you think this is just a temporary blip, think again. Some experts believe we're entering an era where chocolate could return to its status as a luxury item, much like it was hundreds of years ago. The hardest hit products will be those with high cocoa content, as they require more raw material to produce. So what can you do? Start stocking up now. Dark chocolate, in particular, has a long shelf life if stored properly, over a year in most cases. Consider freezing cocoa powder and chocolate chips to extend their usability. If you're a baker, grab what you need for the next year while prices are still manageable. And don't forget to support sustainable chocolate brands that are working to improve conditions for farmers. This isn't just about satisfying your sweet tooth, it's about preserving an industry that millions of people depend on for their livelihoods. Number 8. Citrus fruits. This is our situation. Your morning glass of orange juice might soon become a luxury you can't afford. Citrus fruits are facing a crisis unlike anything we've seen in decades, and the ripple effects are going to hit your grocery store hard. From oranges to lemons, grapefruits to limes, no citrus variety is safe from the challenges ahead. The biggest culprit: citrus greening disease, also known as Huanglongbing. This bacterial infection, spread by tiny insects called Asian citrus psyllids, is devastating citrus groves worldwide. Once a tree is infected, it's essentially given a death sentence. The fruit it produces becomes bitter and misshapen, and within a few years, the tree dies completely. Florida, once a powerhouse of orange production, has lost over 70% of its groves to this disease since 2005. Farmers are watching their livelihoods disappear as the disease spreads faster than ever. But it's not just Florida. California, another major citrus producer, is grappling with its own set of challenges. A severe frost last winter wiped out nearly 30% of the state's lemon crop in a single week, while record heat waves in Europe have pushed Mediterranean citrus production to the brink. Even Brazil, the world's largest orange juice producer, is reporting its lowest harvest in 35 years due to prolonged drought. These aren't isolated incidents, they're part of a global pattern that's decimating citrus production. The supply chain, which usually compensates by sourcing from different regions, is stretched to its limits. All major citrus-producing areas are facing simultaneous crises, leaving little room for recovery. By February, you'll start noticing fewer oranges and higher prices. By March, lemons and limes will become scarce. And by May, expect to pay triple what you're paying now for any citrus fruits if you can find them at all. The impact goes beyond your breakfast table. Food manufacturers are already reformulating products to use less citrus, and restaurants are cutting back on citrus-based dishes and drinks. Remember the lime shortage of 2014 when prices quadrupled? This will be worse. And it's not just about cost, it's about availability. Citrus fruits are a key source of vitamin C, and their absence could create nutritional gaps for many families. So what can you do? Start preparing now. Stock up on vitamin C supplements before demand spikes. If you have the space, consider growing a small indoor citrus tree. Meyer lemons are a great option and thrive indoors with proper care. You can also freeze lemon zest and juice in ice cube trays for future use. Each cube equals about a tablespoon, making it easy to add a burst of citrus flavor to your cooking. This citrus crisis won't last forever, but the next 12 months will be rough. Scientists are working on developing disease-resistant citrus varieties. These solutions take time. In the meantime, plan ahead and get creative with alternatives like sumac or vinegar for recipes that call for lemon juice. And if you find citrus at reasonable prices, consider it a rare treasure in these challenging times. Number 9, wheat products, the crumbling foundation of our diets. Your morning toast, your favorite pasta, even that comforting slice of pizza. Wheat products are at the center of our diets, but they're facing a crisis that could leave shelves bare and prices soaring. The global wheat supply is under siege, and the factors driving this shortage are as alarming as they are complex. Let's start with the geopolitical situation. Ukraine and Russia, which together account for nearly 30% of the world's wheat exports, remain embroiled in conflict. New sanctions implemented just last month have further slashed exports by 15%, creating a ripple effect that's being felt across every continent. This isn't just a temporary disruption. Food security experts are warning that this could mark the beginning of a global wheat crisis that could last for years. Meanwhile, climate change is wreaking havoc on wheat production in the United States. The American wheat belt, particularly Kansas, has been hit by record-breaking droughts. Wheat production in Kansas alone is down a staggering 47% compared to last year. Fields that should be lush and golden are instead dry and brittle, with farmers reporting some of the worst conditions they've ever seen. Many are abandoning wheat altogether, opting for more drought-resistant crops, which only further reduces supply. Canada, another major wheat producer, isn't faring any better. Last summer's devastating wildfires caused widespread smoke damage, which has affected soil quality in ways scientists are still trying to fully understand. Some fields now have unusual pH levels that make wheat cultivation nearly impossible without costly remediation. As a result, Canada's wheat harvest has hit a 20-year low. What does this mean for you? Bread prices have already jumped 22% since January, and by May, they're expected to double. Flour is becoming a hot commodity, with some stores selling out by midday as people begin to panic buy. Pasta isn't immune either. This sneaky tactic, known as shrinkflation, is happening right under our noses. Even restaurants and bakeries are feeling the pinch. Local bakeries are raising prices by as much as 30%, and some are considering closing their doors altogether. Pizza places are thinning their crusts while simultaneously increasing prices, leaving customers with less for more. So what can you do? Start by stocking up on flour now. It stores well in airtight containers for up to a year if kept cool and dry. Consider exploring alternatives like almond flour, cassava flour, or chickpea pasta. They may taste different, but they're viable substitutes in a pinch. If you're serious about long-term food security, invest in a small grain mill. Whole wheat berries can be stored for years and ground into fresh flour as needed. It's more work, but it's a reliable backup when store shelves are empty. This wheat shortage isn't a temporary hiccup, it's a new reality. Climate models predict that the American wheat belt will shift northward over the next decade, but agricultural adaptation takes time. In the meantime, global demand for wheat continues to rise as developing nations adopt more Western-style diets. The question is, will you be prepared when others are scrambling? Number 10, dairy products, a meltdown in the making. Got milk? You might not for much longer. Dairy products are facing a perfect storm of challenges that could make some of your favorites nearly impossible to find by mid-2025. From butter to cheese to your morning coffee creamer, the dairy aisle is under siege and the reasons are piling up fast. First, let's talk about production costs. Farmers are being hit from all sides. Feed prices have doubled compared to last year, with corn and soy, key components of dairy cow diets, reaching record highs due to global shortages. Energy costs have also skyrocketed, with some farmers reporting a 35% increase in the cost of running their operations. For smaller dairy farms, these rising expenses are simply unsustainable. Over 2,000 small dairy farms have shut down in the past 6 months alone, many of them multi-generational family businesses. Climate change is another major factor. Dairy cows are highly sensitive to temperature extremes, and with heat waves becoming more frequent and severe, milk production per cow has dropped by an average of 17% in affected regions. Farmers are spending thousands of dollars on cooling systems just to keep their herds comfortable enough to produce milk. But even these measures have their limits. Droughts have also dried up grazing lands in key dairy regions like California, Wisconsin, and even New Zealand, further straining the industry. The supply chain is breaking down at every level. Refrigerated transport costs have jumped 42% due to rising fuel prices, making it unprofitable to source certain regions. Processing plants are operating at just 60% capacity because of worker shortages and equipment delays. When machinery breaks down, replacement parts that used to take weeks to arrive are now taking months, further slowing production. What does this mean for you? Butter prices have already surged 28% since January, and heavy cream is becoming increasingly scarce, with some stores limiting purchases to 1 carton per customer. Specialty cheeses like imported Parmesan and Gruyere are at risk of disappearing entirely by April as European producers face their own crises and export restrictions. Organic milk is also in trouble, with production down 31% and falling fast. Even basic items like yogurt and cottage cheese are showing signs of strain, with warehouse stocks at their lowest levels in 15 years. So what can you do? Start by considering plant-based alternatives now before everyone else makes the switch and those become scarce too. Oat milk, for example, has seen a 213% increase in sales this year, and production is struggling to keep up with demand. Stock up on powdered milk for emergencies. It lasts for years and works well for cooking. If you see butter on sale, grab it and freeze it. Butter freezes exceptionally well, and portioning it into smaller containers before freezing makes it easy to TC only what you need. The dairy crisis is a wake-up call. It's not just about rising prices, it's about the fragility of a system that many of us take for granted. By planning ahead and exploring alternatives, you can stay ahead of the curve, ensure your fridge stays stocked, even as the dairy aisle becomes increasingly bare. As we've explored, the grocery landscape is shifting dramatically, and the staples I'd always relied on, fish, avocado, spices, cocoa, citrus, wheat, dairy, and more, are becoming harder to find. Climate change, geopolitical conflicts, labor shortages, and supply chain breakdowns are creating a perfect storm that's reshaping how we shop, cook, and eat. These aren't just temporary inconveniences, they're signs of a deeper, more systemic challenge. But here's the good news: you can take action now. By planning ahead, stocking up on essentials, and exploring alternatives, you can stay ahead of these shortages and avoid the panic that will inevitably set in as shelves empty and prices soar. Whether it's freezing citrus juice, experimenting with plant-based dairy, or investing in long-lasting pantry staples like flour and canned goods, small steps today can make a big difference tomorrow. Remember, this isn't just about food, it's about resilience. Preparing now means you'll have the peace of mind to weather these challenges while others scramble. So take what you've learned, make a plan, and start building a pantry that works for you and your family. The next few months will be tough, but with a little foresight and creativity, you can navigate these shortages and come out stronger on the other side. Stay informed, stay prepared, and as always, shop smart,